Welcome to the virtual public input meeting for the North Dakota 49 Minor Rehabilitation Project located from Front Street Southwest in Beulah north to Junction 200. This project includes a mill and overlay greater than 2 inches, less than or equal to 3 inches, curb ramp improvements, and an intersection improvement at 7th Street Northwest. Hi, I'm Stacy Flayton, Project Manager with Ackerman Esvold, and on behalf of North Dakota Department of Transportation and Ackerman Esvold, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to view this presentation. Before we start into the project details, please return to the public meeting page to fill out the sign-in sheet if you haven't done so already, and the North Dakota DOT Title VI Public Participation Survey, as this helps the North Dakota DOT to receive federal funding. The public meeting is held to solicit public feedback and answer any questions that you may have. We invite the public to comment on the project, and we will respond to the public comments and concerns. The North Dakota 49 project improvements include milling and a 3-inch asphalt overlay from Front Street Southwest to Junction 200, as shown by the blue line in the far right overall picture map. The project also includes curb ramp improvements from Front Street Southwest to 2nd Street Northwest, as shown by the yellow line in the middle picture. The project includes an intersection improvement at 7th Street Northwest and North Dakota 49 intersection, as shown in the left picture. This intersection is also labeled in the middle of the far right overall project map picture. Now we will talk about the project details. The project funding consists of 80.93% federal funding and 19.07% state funding. The project has an estimated cost of $1,830,000. This is a North Dakota DOT project, and Ackerman Esvold is a hired consultant engineer to design the project for the North Dakota DOT. The purpose of the project is to adjust the surface pavement's structural integrity to prevent more significant action in the future. The International Roughness (IRI) scores are in the good range, but the distress scores are in the fair range. There is also alligator, longitudinal, and transverse cracking throughout this corridor. The key areas that we will talk about today are the environmental document and permitting, design, which includes a mill and overlay, curb ramp improvements, and an intersection improvement at 7th Street Northwest. Some special considerations that we will talk about are construction phasing, traffic control, and a floodplain. We will also discuss right-of-way in today's presentation as it pertains to the North Dakota 49 project. An environmental document is required to be prepared for the project. The project type falls in the CADEX by definition category, and a categorical exclusion by definition checklist is to be filled out for this project as shown on the right. Some of the items looked at in the environmental document include cultural survey, endangered species, wetland survey, right-of-way, and Section 4F. This project also bisects a floodplain and will require a floodplain permit. Design item number 1 for the project consists of a mill and overlay. The mill and overlay is 2.7 miles long and goes from Front Street Southwest to Junction 200. There will be milling to tie into the existing curb and gutter at the beginning and end of the job, tying into the railroad and areas along North Dakota 49 to maintain a 4-foot shoulder. The asphalt overlay will be greater than 2 inches and less than or equal to 3 inches and will extend the whole length of the job. Items taken into consideration for the design and project location include traffic control, flood protection, maintaining a 4-foot shoulder, and the multiple speed limits throughout the project corridor, which consists of 25 miles per hour, 45 miles per hour, and 55 miles per hour. This slide shows existing typical sections for the project. The top picture, which is on the south end of the project, shows two 12-foot driving lanes with 6.5-foot shoulders on each side, with curb and gutter and 5 inches of existing asphalt. The bottom picture, which is located on the north end of the project, shows two 12-foot driving lanes with 6-foot shoulders and 4.5 inches of existing asphalt. This slide shows the proposed typical sections for the project. The top picture shows installing 2.5 inches to 3 inches of asphalt on the top of the existing roadway. We will need to mill or remove 2.5 inches of existing asphalt pavement next to the existing curb and gutter to tie in the proposed asphalt so that the top of the asphalt is flush next to the gutter. Then we will install an asphalt overlay with 2.5 inches of asphalt next to the gutter and 3 inches of asphalt at the center of the roadway or crown of the roadway. The bottom picture shows installing 3 inches of asphalt on top of the existing roadway. There is a Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad crossing at RP 101.79 located on the south end of the project. We will have an exception area at the railroad. This means that the milling and overlay will start and stop on each side of the railroad tracks, as there will not be any milling or asphalt overlay on top of the railroad tracks. We have done a field investigation and survey of the existing railroad signs and pavement markings and found that we will have to adjust a sign and the pavement markings to meet current standards. Design item number 2 consists of curb ramp improvements. Curb ramps are where the sidewalk ties into the roadway for pedestrians to cross the street. The curb ramps will be updated to current standards. There is a 10-foot wide shared use path from Front Street Southwest to north of Railroad Street Southwest. There is a 5-foot wide sidewalk from north of Railroad Street Southwest to 2nd Street Northwest. Some considerations that we look at during design include traffic control, tying into existing features, making sure the curb ramps are ADA compliant, and right-of-way needs. As just discussed, we are doing curb ramp upgrades on this project. This slide shows the North Dakota DOT's current standard drawings for curb ramps. Some of the things we check for in design are that the cross slope, the side-to-side slope, doesn't exceed 2%. Also, as you walk along the sidewalk, the slope cannot exceed 8.3%. Another item that we check for is a turning space, where pedestrians can change directions along the sidewalk, as this turning space sidewalk panel cannot exceed 2% slope in all directions. Design item number 3 consists of an intersection improvement at 7th Street Northwest. The need for this improvement is that there is difficulty navigating the intersection due to the current North Dakota 49 alignment and pavement marking. More recently, pavement marking has been added through the intersection to help guide northbound drivers to the through lane, as shown in the picture on the right. The purpose of this improvement is to improve the traffic flow by lining up the northbound lanes on both the north and south sides of 7th Street Northwest. For design item number 3, the 7th Street Northwest intersection improvement, some considerations that we consider during design include traffic control, right-of-way needs, floodplain impacts. The bottom left picture shows North Dakota DOT's geometric guidelines for installing turn lanes. The orange or yellow colored lanes represent the through lanes. The blue colored lane represents a right turn lane. The green colored lane represents a left turn lane. And the red colored area represents the transition area for the left turn lane. The top right picture shows an adjustment in pavement markings to add the transition area for this left turn lane on the south side of the intersection to help line up the northbound lanes of traffic. This proposed design shows us widening the southeast corner of the intersection as shown in yellow in the top right picture. This proposed widening work will stay within the DOT's existing right-of-way and will not require the North Dakota DOT to purchase any additional right-of-way. Traffic control is one consideration that is most impactful to the public. With the mill and overlay, we will maintain traffic with the use of flaggers and a pilot car during construction. Traffic control for the curb ramps will look similar to the picture on the right, as we will maintain pedestrian traffic with the use of pedestrian channelization as outlined in blue. and temporary curb ramps as shown in orange/yellow. Pedestrians would follow the yellow areas around the work area, shown in red. Depending on the available space within the DOT's right-of-way, this temporary route may extend out onto the existing roadways, but will be delineated with pedestrian channelization as shown in blue in the picture. A portion of this project is an area designated as a floodway and floodplain, and special care is taken to avoid any impacts to these items. Fill placed within the floodway would require floodway authorization. However, a mill and overlay avoids this situation. A floodplain permit is required with the work occurring in this area. The picture on the right shows North Dakota 49 in the middle of the project between 2nd Street Northwest and 7th Street Northwest, as shown in the yellow boxed area. The regulated floodway is shown in the pink and blue hatched area. The floodplain is shown in the orange areas and the blue areas. This next slide shows the floodplain and floodway on the south end of the project, from Front Street Southwest to 1st Street Northwest, as shown in the yellow boxed area. There will be no impacts to the floodway for this section of roadway, as the floodway is located east of the project. This slide shows a floodplain in blue on the north end of the project near 22nd Street North, as shown in the yellow boxed area. There are no impacts to the floodway in this section of roadway. Right-of-way is another item on the project. The curb ramp and sidewalk improvements will be located within the existing North Dakota DOT's public right-of-way. In some areas where the contractor needs to remove and replace the curb ramp, they may need to access the adjacent private property to fix the sidewalk. Construction activities may require light traffic on the adjacent private property to set and remove forms, reconnect sidewalks and driveways, perform finish work, restore and revegetate grass. During design, if it is determined that we need to access the adjacent private property to fix a curb ramp, the affected landowner will need to approve with a curb ramp/sidewalk construction agreement to allow this work to occur. The key dates of this project include completing the environmental document this winter. If there's any right-of-way acquisitions, they are proposed to happen in the summer of 2023. The proposed bidding is projected for fall 2023 to winter 2024. The proposed construction is projected for summer 2024. These dates could change depending on funding and other factors. This concludes the public input presentation for the North Dakota 49 Mill and Overlay Project. If you have any comments, please send written comments by mail to Ackerman Esvold, attention Stacy Flayton, at 4165 30th Avenue South, Suite 100, Fargo, North Dakota 58104, or email me at stacy.flayton@ackerman-esvold.com with the subject line Public Input Meeting. All comments need to be postmarked or emailed by December 28, 2022. As a reminder, if you haven't done so already, please return to the public meeting page to fill out the sign-in sheet and the North Dakota DOT's Title VI Public Participation Survey, as this helps the North Dakota DOT to receive federal funding.